Hey, this is Tuhon Aditya from LightHaven and welcome to day 3 of our solo training series. Today we are going to be covering single knife. Before we begin though, it would mean a lot if you subscribe to the channel and like this video. These things really do help out the school and the channel a lot.
So the first thing we're going to start with is our warm-up. So we're going to take our two sticks, hold them in the middle and then rotate them 100 times. Now I want to make sure that I'm rotating as much as I can to the front and as much as I can to the back, and it's not just this. I want to rotate, I want to stretch all the tendons, I want to stretch my joints all the way up my arm. I want to rotate as much as possible. Now depending on how strong you are, choose the weight of the sticks that you want. Also, as you get more tired, you can bend your arms. You don't have to keep them straight for the whole 100, even though it's better. However, don't bring them in front of you because the sticks bump into each other. So in the middle, rotate 100 times. The next thing we're going to do is, if you guys are familiar with your dirty dozen, this is derived from dirty dozen number 11. If you're not, we're going to do this from the beginning anyway. The footwork we're doing is your T footwork. So I'm just going to step in front, no weight on the front leg and a sink on the back leg. As my sticks open, my leg is going to go out. I start with my sticks crossed in front of my body. The first set is going to be low, then medium, then high. As I open my sticks, my leg comes out. And again, I'm looking for my stick to go all the way to the bottom, 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 both ways. So again, make sure you're choosing a weight that you are comfortable with so you're not injuring your wrists. One thing people do is they tend to open their chest with this. Don't open your chest. Let this be a wrist, elbow, shoulder motion and not a chest motion. And I want this to be facing down and facing down. It's just slightly different from dirty dozen number 11, but still down, down. And we're going to do 30 of these with the hands down low. After 30 down low, the next one we're going to do is 30 with the hands in front of my chest. Same thing. As the sticks open, my leg comes out. 30 of these. From here, the last one we're going to do is my hands above my head. So my wrists are crossed. As the sticks open, my leg comes out. Now make sure that here I'm looking to be almost parallel to the ground, almost parallel. And the stick faces forward as much as I can make it. So from here, open, and 30 of these. One additional thing you can do that I do for coordination's sake is that every time I close my hands, I switch which hand is on top. So if my left hand is on top, now my right hand's on top. That's just something that I do. It works another layer of coordination. You can do that or you can't do that, it's up to you. But 30 low, 30 medium, 30 top, 30 high.
Now let's start with some footwork. Similar to our single stick, we're going to be using diamond footwork for our single knife. Now it's up to you whether you want to do this empty hand or whether you want to do this with the knife in your hand, but we're going to go through the single step version and the double step version of the diamond step. So if you're doing an empty hand, just keep your hands up here and step 45 degrees to the front, getting my head off center line, step again in the front, step back, come back to center. Other side, I'm trying to get my head off center line in this single step version. In the double step version, I'm trying to get my entire body off center line each time. So double step, double step, double step, double step. In the single step, I'm trying to keep my foot firmly planted on the ground, gripping the ground, and I want a strong structure here that can receive pressure, can be mobile, and can also deliver power. In the double step, I'm looking for mobility. I'm looking to load a spring and release a spring. So with diamond footwork, empty hand or with the weapon in your hand, we're going to be doing 2 rounds of 3 minutes each. Make sure though that you alternate the single step and the double step, and that you do not step through the middle. You are stepping off center line and then back onto center line. Now let's add some basic angles on top of our diamond footwork. Now we're going to be sticking to our angle 1, angle 2. There are a couple of differences when I'm going from stick to knife. Number 1, I'm not loading on my shoulder anymore. Number 2, I'm not having those big follow throughs, because with the knife everything is closer and everything, I don't have as much time. So instead of loading on my shoulder, I'm going to keep the knife from here. It begins from here, ends here. Angle 1, angle 2. I'm still hitting the same angles of 1 to 7, 11 to 5, and instead of the follow through, it's going to be much shorter. Instead of it going behind, the tip facing behind me, I'm going to have the knife always going to try and keep the knife between me and my opponent, never not facing my opponent. I always want my knife in some way, shape or form, at least the edge or the tip, to be facing my opponent. So now let's add this on to our diamond footwork. We're going to go single step first and then double step. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, angle 1, angle 2, angle 1, angle 2. Now with on my left side, angle 1, angle 2, angle 1, angle 2, angle 1, angle 2, angle 1, angle 2. Now double step. Now when I do the single step, I was doing 2 strikes on every step. With a double step, I'm going to do 1 strike on every step. So I go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. As you can see, my hand comes right back up every single time. I don't leave my hand down by my hip. Angle 1, angle 2, I bring it back up. And this is sort of like my guard. If I was empty hand, my hands would be sort of like this in a guard. With the knife, it's similar. This is the guard I'm going to keep for now. And from here itself, angle 1, angle 2. Now, you should work equally when the grip is in saksa and when the grip is in pakal, or my ice pick grip. Just know that when I'm in saksa, I am slashing. So I am keeping my attention on the edge of my knife. It's the edge that's making contact with my opponent. When I'm doing pakal, I am thrusting. And so I want to almost send my attention or my mind to the tip of that weapon, because that's what I'm thrusting with. That's just something to keep in mind when you go from saksa to pakal. In saksa, I'm slashing. In pakal, I am thrusting. Also make sure that you are training equally on your right hand and your left hand. So we're going to be doing 2 rounds of 3 minutes each. My suggestion would be that you change hands after every round. My other suggestion would be that you train 1 grip at a time. So don't switch from saksa to pakal in the middle of the round. If you want to do both saksa and pakal in the same day, then do 4 rounds of 3 minutes each. 2 rounds in saksa, 2 rounds in pakal, 1 round in each grip in each hand. So 1 round saksa right hand, 1 round saksa left hand, 1 round pakal right hand, 1 round pakal left hand. Each round 3 minutes each. One of the most common principles or sayings that you hear in the blade is that every thrust is followed by a slash and every slash is followed by a thrust. So now we're going to be drilling that principle or working on that principle. We're going to be doing 3 thrusts and 3 slashes. The first thrust is going to be a low thrust and slash, a medium thrust and slash, then a high thrust and a slash back down to the hip. So one thing I want you to think of is that you are making almost a triangle. So the low thrust to a slash is a triangle, but it's not a triangle horizontal like this. It's a triangle almost diagonal. The reason being that we don't generally like thrusting in a straight line in Pekiti. For a couple of reasons. It exposes your arm a lot more. Also, if I am going curved, if I'm doing these curved slashes or thrusts, it allows me to have a slash on the return, either this way or this way. So every thrust can be followed by a slash then, as long as I keep it curved. If I have a straight thrust, it sort of limits what I can follow up with. So all three thrusts are going to be curved in some way. The first 2 thrusts are going to be diagonal, going from down to up. Whether it's a low thrust, a medium thrust, it's still down to up. So the first one is going to be a low thrust. From here I turn and I slash out. Then it's going to be a medium thrust, again going from here upwards. thrust, I turn and I slash out. And the last one is going to be almost a horizontal thrust, and then I slash back down. There are a couple of other ways that you can do the last thrust, but for the sake of keeping it simple right now, we're just going to do a horizontal thrust and then a diagonal slash back down to our hip. For this exercise or drill, we're going to be using just our open triangle footwork, at least while we sort of figure this out, get the coordination, get the angles correct. So I'm going to go low thrust and slash, medium thrust and slash, high thrust, slash down. Switch legs, low thrust and slash, medium thrust and slash, high thrust, slash down. Switch legs again, low thrust slash, thrust, slash down, thrust and slash, thrust and slash, thrust, slash down. Now you can also add your live hand into the mix. So when I'm trying to add this hand, what I'm going to be looking to do is I go thrust and slash, thrust, and as I pull this slash back to load for that high thrust, this hand goes out. Now this hand can be used to slap, can be used to grab, can be used for many things, but it goes out right now, and then I'm going to go horizontal thrust, slash. There is also an exercise where you go thrust, slash, thrust, and then bring it back down. But again, we want to continue with the every thrust is followed by a slash motion for now. So we're going to go horizontal thrust and not straight thrust. So we're going to do 2 rounds of 3 minutes each. Thrust and slash, thrust and slash, thrust and slash. Switch hands at the end of the first round. So you're doing 1 round in your right hand, one round in your left hand. We started with our footwork, then we combined our footwork with our basic angles in both grips, Saksa and Pakal. Then we did a thrust and slash drill in this grip, Saksa or hammer grip. And now we're going to be doing a drill in Pakal. Now I recently released a video on essential knife drills that I think you should be practicing. I will link that below. Part of that video was about the knife jabbing drill. I will link that video and a more detailed video about the knife jab and the dynamics, not the dynamics, the body mechanics of the knife jab below. So check that out if you are not familiar with it. But for those of you who are, we're going to be adding a knife jab into our solo training. So I'm going to be standing in my bladed stance. My weapon hand and weapon leg are going to be in front. Now my weapon hand is going to rotate towards the front, almost like I'm hitting a speed bag. My non-weapon hand is going to rotate to the side, 45 degrees to the side. If that's center line, my non-weapon hand is going to rotate in that direction. Now this is important, and they're going to alternate. This is important, especially when we go to double knife, which we will. This is a great way to avoid cutting yourself, especially with double knife. So we're going to go rotate, rotate, rotate. We're going to start with a lunging jab, come back, low jab, high jab. Again, rotate, 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 lunging jab, low jab, high jab. Now your targets are for the lunging jab, you are lunging in front of your own face, low jab is in front of your own groin, high jab again in front of your own face. This hand is covering whichever portion is empty. So if I am jabbing up high, then all of this is open. This hand covers this. If I am jabbing down low, all of this is open. This is covering up here. The other thing to keep in mind is do not leave your hand out there. Don't jab and leave your hand out there. Pull it back. Think of it more like a poke than a thrust. So from here, high jab, low jab, high jab. Pull it back every time. Rotate, 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 rotate. High jab, low jab, high jab. This knee needs to go straight up and down. Do not let it come in, because then you will be falling in front as you lean. The whole point is the lean to increase the amount of extension you can get on that jab. For footwork, we're going to go back to our clock face, but on the ground this time. So 12 o'clock is in front of me, 6 o'clock is behind me, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So I start facing 12 o'clock, lunging jab, low jab, high jab. Now my front foot, this foot, is going to remain where it is, and it's just going to pivot in place. I'm going to go from 12 o'clock, my back foot steps, and now I face 3 o'clock. I rotate, 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 lunging jab, low jab, high jab. Now my back foot is going to step again, and I'm going to face 6 o'clock. And then my back foot is going to step again, so I'm facing 9 o'clock, and I'm rotating, lunging jab, low jab, high jab. Again step, and I'm back facing 12 o'clock. I can also do the reverse of this, where instead of me pivoting clockwise, I'm pivoting anti-clockwise. And so I do my lunging jab, low jab, high jab, pivot anti-clockwise, lunging jab, low jab, high jab, anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. So with this also, we're going to be doing 2 rounds of 3 minutes each. Switch your hands after every round. So the first round with your right hand, second round in your left hand. Now let's go to some combination work. I'm going to show you really quickly, really easily how to make your own knife combinations. Again, we're going back to the clock face. So this time, 12 o'clock is in front of my head, 6 is in front of my groin, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. I'm going to choose any 3 faces of the clock, right? So I can go 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, for example. So I'm going to go 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Another example, maybe I go 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So I'm going to go 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 8 o'clock. So 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 8 o'clock. It's really up to you which combinations that you choose. One suggestion that I would have when you are beginning is that you go, you alternate sides of the clock. So you go 1 o'clock and then you go, so you go from 12 to 6, so 1, 2, 3 or 5 first, then from 7 all the way up to 11, 7, 9, 10, 11, and then come back to this side again, so 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. What this is going to allow you to do is it's going to make transitioning from one attack to the next attack to the next attack much easier and less confusing to do. The other thing to keep in mind is that you are not, you don't only have to slash. It's really up to you. In some cases, it makes more sense to slash than to thrust. In some cases, it makes more sense to thrust than to slash. But there are often times when you can do both. So if I go 1, 9, 3, if I go 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I can have the 3 o'clock as a slash or a thrust. Same with the 9 o'clock, it can be a slash or a thrust. However, that 1 o'clock in this grip doesn't make so much sense as a thrust downwards. It makes more sense as a slash downwards. Things will also change when you switch to Pakal. So if I do the same combination, 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's now going to be a thrust, thrust, slash, or a thrust, slash, thrust, or a thrust, slash, slash. It really depends on which version you want to work on. Once you have your combination of 3 strikes, we're going to put this on top of our diamond footwork. Now, the way we have a couple of different ways that we can coordinate our striking with our feet. To start off with, in a single step, I'm going to do, let's say again, I'm going to take that simple 1, 9, 3 o'clock. 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I go 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then I come back. 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Come back. 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Reset. 1, 9, 3. Come back. As you can see, on every step, I'm doing the entire combination. 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Come back. On every single step, I'm doing the entire combination. I can also change the rhythm of this. So I can go 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Step back, 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So I'm doing 2 strikes on my first step and the third strike on my second step. 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I can also do it even a little bit more differently, where I can go, let's orient ourselves this way, where I can go 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So now I'm 1 strike on the first step and 2 on the second step. 1 strike on the first step and 2 on the second step. There are also, it's really up to your imagination how you want to coordinate this. My suggestion would be, for the combination, stick to the single step, because the timing gets a little bit confusing when you start doing double steps. When you are doing single step, make sure that again you are getting your head off center line and you're not just walking through the center, you're getting offline and then coming back online again. We're going to be doing 2 rounds of 3 minutes each, 1 round on our right hand, 1 round on our left hand. I also suggest that you do not mix Pakal and Saksa in the same round. If you want to do the same combination, figure out the same combination 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock in Saksa, you want to do it in Pakal as well. Then do 4 rounds of 3 minutes each, and again alternate right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand. Lastly, we're going to be ending with some free flow or some Anyo. This is where you get to work on all of the stuff that you have been practicing, your basic angles, thrust slash, moving around, whichever combination that you have just worked on. Now is when you get to work on all of that stuff. When you get lost, especially in the beginning, you will get lost. Go back to your basic angle 1, angle 2, or go back to the combination you just spent all this time drilling. So I'm flowing, thrust slash, moving around. I'm feeling a bit lost, like what do I do before? And what do I do? I go back to my combination that I just did, 1, 9, 3, 1, 9, 3, and then maybe I again refine my rhythm, try again, thrust slash, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1, 9, 3. I'm moving my feet, I'm moving around, and I'm essentially just learning to combine all the different attacks with my knife and learning to just flow. Of this also, we're going to be doing 2 rounds of 3 minutes each. Please alternate your hands. So first round, right hand, second round, your left hand. Again, if you want to be practicing flow in Pakal and Saksa on the same day, do 4 rounds of 3 minutes each, where you're doing 2 rounds like this, 2 rounds like this, making sure that you're practicing equally on your right hand and your left hand. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, if you learned from what you saw, please do like and share this video. Please do subscribe to the channel. If you have anything to add to the discussion, leave that in the comments down below. If you have any questions or requests for future videos, please also leave that in the comments down below. All of these things really do help out the school and the channel a lot. Our online classes are up and running. Our residential program is up and running. To enroll for either of them, check out the email I'm going to leave down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tomorrow we're going to be doing Spada Daga, or stick or sword and knife. So see you then.